Hi, my name is Tom Kapsak, and I'm an assistant professor at Brookdale, and I have been for the last 11 years. Before I came to Brookdale, I was a practicing trial lawyer for 38 years. 36 of those years were spent in the Middlesex County Prosecutor's Office. 20 of those years were my time as Chief Trial Counsel in the Prosecutor's Office, and 25 of those years were spent as Chief of the Homicide Unit. During that period of time, I supervised the investigation and prosecution of more than 300 homicides. I found it very challenging, very rewarding, and I wouldn't change a day of my life. If I had to describe who I was and what I was before I came to Brookdale, I'd like to be known as a homicide prosecutor. I teach three subjects. One is criminal justice, which is the introductory course. I also teach criminal law and criminal investigation, which are the advanced courses, and I am the faculty advisor to the Criminal Justice Club, and I have been for 7 years. The club is meant to bring in actual practitioners who are still working out in the field and to tell our students exactly what they do every day. And it's a way for the students to say, hey, that sounds like a pretty good idea. I'd like to know more about that. Or maybe, gee, that's not really what I want to do. So they get to talk to real practitioners who tell them about their jobs and who help them decide what they want to be when they leave college. My classes are divided into two sections. For the first part of the class, I teach the fundamentals, the basics of criminal justice, the stuff that we get from the textbooks, essentially. But then we take a break and we go into the second phase, and there I talk about my actual cases. I give them PowerPoint case studies of my actual murder trials. And we start with the bodies on the floor or on the ground outside. And I choose cases that illustrate the point of the lecture. I've learned to be an academic here at Brookdale, but really my life was spent as a practitioner. And that's what the students want to hear. I've never had a student come to me and say, when I get out of school, I want to be a criminal justice teacher. They all say they want to be criminal justice practitioners, law enforcement officers, whether it's on the local level, and of course they only need the 2-year certificate, the associate's degree, in order to teach in a local to work in a local police department. They might want to be county officers, state officers, federal officers, in which case they need more education. So I try to help them by telling them about my practical experience and by bringing the subject matter alive. The pleasure I get, the passion I have, is when I help students to achieve their goals. When I get them an internship that gets them started on their way. When I go to graduation and I see that they've grown and matured and graduated. When I write them a recommendation that gets them into law school, and I can see that I have had an influence on them, and they tell me that, and it's very, very rewarding. I tell them how challenging the job is, how rewarding the job is, and I never discourage them in any way. And some of them really accept it wholeheartedly, and they're motivated and they're inspired, and that's what makes me happy.